Hi, I'm Dr. Troy. It's been a pleasure working with you and getting you to this point in your care. I'm excited that you've transferred to that next step into learning these different spinal rehab, stretching, and strengthening exercises. We're going to make some awesome changes with you. Let's go back and start to strengthen your core, your spine, and your nervous system. Okay, awesome. What we're going to do here is we're going to have a couple of different phases on this DVD. And so as we get started here, we're going to talk about positioning while you're sleeping, different pillows, getting in and out of bed, the right type of bed, and then we're going to go into different stretching exercises in phase one. Now the big thing is as we get started with this, if you're feeling any discomfort with any of these exercises, it's very, very important that you address them with me. Call the office, come in, see me before you proceed with them because we don't want you doing any harm to yourself. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk first about how we get in and out of bed. And that might seem simple to you, and a lot of you probably do it properly, but for those of you who don't or who have excruciating lower back pain or other problems with your spine, this is a way that we can just do simple things to help ourselves out. So what we want to get away from is we want to get away from doing this a sit-up, getting in and out of bed. And so when you first sit down on the edge of your bed, what we want to do from this position is roll down onto our side. And so once you're in a side-lying position, we either want to become a side-lying sleeper or a back sleeper. And the reason why is when we sleep on our stomach, we have to rotate our head, which ultimately creates subluxation and misalignment of our cervical spine. So the key is when we're on our side, what we want to do, we want to have a pillow that gives us enough support so if we're to draw an imaginary line right down through our head, down through our chest and between the legs, that line's going to be straight. So what I'm getting at is I don't want your head cocked up with 3 pillows underneath it, or I don't want you to sleep without a pillow so that your head's falling down. We want to keep that alignment because posture is a key in order to having a healthy functioning spine and nervous system. As well, if when you're in a side-lying position you feel you have pain or irritation in the lower portion of the back, what I want you to do here is take a pillow and put a pillow in between your legs. This is something that just helps keep you level, at least when you first start off sleeping, because if you don't have this, oftentimes what happens is you get rotated. And when you get rotated like so, it creates more stress and postural stress to the lower portion of your back. Now, if you're a back sleeper, what we want to do here is we want to make sure that we have good cervical support. And why I'm saying cervical support is if you remember looking at the x-ray, you should have a nice arcing C-shaped curve through your neck. And a lot of people throughout life lose that because of abnormal posture, trauma that they've had. And so we want to work to try to achieve and get that back into a balanced situation. And so this cervical spine, we want to have a pillow that helps support that. Once again, we don't want 3 pillows under our head, lifting our head way up, and we don't want no pillow at all so that our head's falling back without any support underneath that arcing curve. Well, we do have pillows here in the office, and it's something that we'd be happy to fit you with or talk to you about them more, so just let us know if you're interested in doing that. As well, if you're one that has lower back pain when you first lie down in bed, what you can do, a simple trick, is to put a pillow underneath your legs and then let your legs relax down onto that pillow. This ultimately flattens the curve out in the lower portion of your spine and can oftentimes help alleviate some of that stress that you're having. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into different stretching exercises. These are exercises that I want you to do morning and night, and they're very important that you do not feel pain with them. If you do feel pain, you're going to stop and you're going to what? You're going to call me, or you're going to come in and see me so that we can address them. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about when we first wake up in the morning and we start a warm-up with our spine. We're going to start off by doing stretches with our legs, and the first stretch that we're going to do is what we call the piriformis stretch, and that's a muscle that runs throughout the buttock region to your pelvis, and it goes right over the top of the sciatic nerve. And so we want to stretch this muscle out. And so how we're going to do it is we're going to do a figure 4 with our leg, and then we're going to pull our knee up to our opposite shoulder. And you're going to feel a nice stretch right back through the buttock region. And I want you to hold that stretch for 30 seconds. And at this point, it's not about bouncing and pulling so hard that it hurts. or just flat out stretching it to the point of pain. It's feeling a stretch through that buttock region and then holding it and sustaining that for 30 seconds. And then you're going to do the same thing to the other side. Figure 4, so your ankle comes over to the opposite side, and then pull your knee up to this opposite shoulder. A great way to start increasing your flexibility, because when we're in a seated position throughout our day, it creates a contraction of these muscles, as well as our hamstring muscle, and that's the next muscle that we're going to show you how to stretch. So when we get out of bed in the morning, we're going to roll back to our side and push ourselves up into a tight ball, so that we're in an upright seated position. We want to get away from this sit-up that oftentimes we do when we're running behind or we're trying to hurry up and get our day going. So roll to the side, push yourself up. Now you're ready to do your hamstring stretch. And so when you're in this position, what we're going to do is on the edge of our bed, we're going to put our foot up on the edge of the bed. This is the key here. We're going to hang our foot off the edge so that our knee can bend slightly. Once our knee's bent, we want to keep our spine straight, and we want to lean forward as though we're trying to touch our chin to our toes. That really increases the stretch throughout the back portion of our hamstring. We're going to hold that for 30 seconds. No bouncing, not too intense that it's causing us pain, and then we're going to go ahead and go to the other side. Same thing over here. Key, having that foot hanging off the edge of the bed, knee slightly bent, spine straight, and we're going to lean forward, trying to touch our chin down to our toes. Once we're done with those two exercises, we're going to go into stretching out the trapezius. And the trapezius muscle is a muscle that attaches right up in the upper portion of our occiput, or base of our upper portion of our neck, comes down to our shoulders, and then it comes down and forms a V into the middle portion of our back. But we're going to stretch this upper portion because so many of us carry stress in that area, whether we have abnormal posture or just from our activities of daily living, our work stress, sitting at a computer all day. So we want to elongate these muscles so that we can increase the flexibility with our spine. So how we're going to do this is we're going to reach over to the opposite side of our head, and at this point we're gradually, posture's good once again, straight up and down, we're going to bring our head over to the side, starting to feel tension through the left side of my neck at this point, and I'm going to take my opposite hand now and I'm going to make a fist, or you can hold a 5 or a 10-pound dumbbell, so it creates a counter pressure. If you don't have a weight, you're going to make a fist and act like you're pushing it down to the floor to increase that overall stretch, and we're going to hold that for 30 seconds. It's not to have this left arm relaxed and just to pull our head over. That's where we're going to strain that muscle. We want to avoid that. Now we're going to stretch what we call the levator scapula. This is a muscle that attaches up on your neck, middle to lower portion of your neck, and then it goes right down to your shoulder blade. Another area that we have a lot of contraction due to stress in our life. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to turn our head at a 45-degree angle, reach to the back of our head, pulling our head forward gradually to the point that we start to feel a stretch. Opposite hand, counter pressure. Feeling a great stretch through there. You can add, if you need a little extra resistance, with the down arm, a 5 or a 10-pound weight. Going to do those to both sides as well. And then lastly here on this phase 1, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about what we call abdominal hollows. Abdominal hollows are something that you're just making a conscious effort to contract throughout the abdominal region. And when we do an abdominal hollow, it's really simple, but it's a matter of training yourself so that you can do it not even when you're thinking about it. So it goes from a conscious thought of doing it to a subconscious thought. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and we'll stand up here and I'm going to go into that. An abdominal hollow is where you're creating a contraction through your abdominal region. And so if you're a guy that's watching this, you know how many times when you were a young kid you stood in front of the mirror and you put your arms up and you sucked your belly button back. It's that position where you're drawing that belly button back towards your spine. And so what we're going to have you do when you do an abdominal hollow is we're going to draw the belly button back, but at the same time I want you to be breathing. And so what our problem was when we used to pose in front of the mirror is we usually held our breath. And so we're going to get away from holding our breath and start to learn to breathe. And so we can hold a contraction while we're working, laughing, talking, and that's just going to help support our core, which ultimately is going to help influence the function and the stabilization of the lower portion of our back. So what we're going to do, if I stand to the side, I don't know if you can notice a difference here. So we want to draw that belly button back, creating a contraction through the front of the abs, and then you can just hold that for 10-15 seconds. And as you get used to it and start doing it more, as I said, it becomes more of a subconscious action rather than a conscious action. And that's exactly what you want to have happen. So when you go to pick something up, you do not irritate and cause any irritation with the lower portion of your back. It's because your core muscles have engaged, and it's provided you that support to help keep you healthy. And so one other exercise that I really like to do is what we call a pectoralis stretch. And I say this is a stretch that's good for all of us to do, for the reason that we all work out in front of us. And so what happens is it causes our shoulders to pull forward. If maybe you're even sitting at a computer and our heads get drawn forward, shoulders get drawn forward, it creates a contraction through the front of the chest. And so what I'm going to do, we're going to do it in a door jam. It's really simple, and it's going to be very effective just to help elongate those muscles through the chest, ultimately taking some stress off that middle portion of your back. So let me go ahead and show that. Okay, now with this pec stretch, we're just going to use a door jam. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put our hands shoulder height, high, and then what I want you to do is just act like you're trying to walk through the door. And you're going to walk through, and you're just going to feel a nice stretch through the front portion of the chest. It's not a position where you're pushing all your weight into it. We don't want to cause any irritation with the shoulder joint. So just act like we're walking through and feel a good stretch there. Hold it for 30 seconds, and you just feel an awesome elongation with those muscles. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to bring your hands up higher in the door jam. And on this, I just want you to kind of think of a swing set. And you have the chains. The chains are my arms, and then the seat comes across in my shoulders. And the reason why I say that is if you just lean into this, it hurts up into the joint of the shoulder. And so what we want to do is we want to do a level change where we just kind of drop our knees a little bit and swing into it. It just gets those muscles through what's called the pec minor, the smaller muscle through the chest, to stretch up just a little bit higher. So add those two to your stretching exercises, 30 seconds for both of them. Sustained stretch, no pain. It's going to definitely help you out. What we're going to go into now is we're going to go into different strengthening rehab. We're going to talk more about strengthening the core, about strengthening what we call neuromotor pathways so that you have better balance. All that's going to be influential with their overall health and well-being. Let's get started with that.